people of the book in the edge of the app. We are in the fifth presentation. And it is drumming up demons. So we'll be getting into a study of music, just a small portion on music. So let us see what the Lord has for us, even as we get into this study on music. Our key text, as always, is Romans 12 verses 2 says, "And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove that which is good, that good and acceptable, perfect will of God." So that is our key text, always reminding us that there is a way in which the world is doing their things, and there is a way in which God wants us to live our lives and to be transformed into His image, into His mind, the mind of Christ. So as we get into this music session on music, the information that we'll be studying will be very minimal. Music is a big topic that will require probably around 2 full weeks to deal with the issue of music, but we are going to just have probably less than a tenth of the information we can look at when we speak about music. But let us see the little that we can learn. So our title is Drumming Up Demons, and I got this from the Japan News. We have a culture in Japan where the Japanese, when there is no rain for good harvest, they dress up like demons and then they drum for rain. Kind of an interesting kind of a tradition. I don't know why they dress like demons and why they specifically drum uh, for the whole occasion. But that is what I got. Now, let us get back to the beginning of sin in the universe, the beginning of evil and the devil. Lucifer is what we call him, the angel who was the leader of worship in heaven. And because of how he was made, Ezekiel says he was made with pipes and workmanship of music within himself. So he was a creature of wonder to behold. And so he had this gift that he was given even in his creation to lead worship. And the hour for joyful, happy songs of praise to God and his dear Son had come. But Satan had led the heavenly choir. He had raised the first note. Then all the angelic host had united with him. This is the story of redemption, verse 25. So he was kind of the worship leader, the music leader in heaven. But unfortunately, he realized he had a good gift and he wanted praise to himself. And Isaiah 14 said he wanted to raise himself, exalt his throne above the stars of God and sit upon the mount of congregation in the farthest sides of the north. And he wanted to ascend above the height of the clouds and be like the Most High. So he wanted to compete with the one who was being offered the praise and worship. And because of that, the first choir in heaven split, and a third of the choir members plus the choir master were cast out after quite a sharp disagreement. And the disagreement was quite sharp that there was a war. And we are told what happened. But now, instead of strains of sweetest music, discord and angry words fall upon the ear of the great rebel leader. Where is he? Is it not all a horrible dream? Is he shut out of heaven? Are the gates of heaven never more to open to admit him? The hour of worship draws nigh, and when the bright and holy angels bow before the Father, no more will he unite with the heavenly song. No more will he bow in the reverence and holy awe before the presence, the presence of the eternal God. So what happened is that there was a war in heaven. There was a disagreement. He was advised, but he decided no, he could not listen. So there was a war in heaven, and that is what John tells us in Revelation chapter 12. And there was war, and the great dragon was cast out, the old serpent, uh, who was called the devil and Satan. So he was cast out. There was a disagreement which led to war, and the third of the choir in heaven was cast out, and so they decided to form their own choir. So that was the first split of choir we have. It happened in heaven. It happened in heaven. And so they were cast out. They were cast out to earth. They were cast out to earth, and they continued the battle here. And we know each battle has a song. They're always these battle songs. And we have a battle going on between good and evil. And this is the great controversy. And so there is music that is involved in this battle. Both sides of the battle have music in which they cheer each other up so that they can have that uh, morale to fight on. So the great controversy also has battle songs. So Lucifer, the choir master, became Satan, the musician. And when God was creating the world and laying the foundation, he was not there. Job says 38 verses 7, but the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. He was not present. He was not there. So he became jealous of that. And we are told in the same book of A Story of Redemption, page 31, the angels united with Adam and Eve in holy strains of harmonious music as their songs pealed forth from the blissful Eden. Satan heard the sound of the strains of joyful adoration to the Father and the Son, and as Satan heard it, his envy, hatred, and malignity increased. He expressed his anxiety to his followers to incite them, Adam and Eve, to disobedience. So he became jealous of the music that was now going on after there was creation, and Adam and Eve were now singing together with the angels and making melody and harmony. Because of that envy and jealous, he decided to tempt them. Probably he used a melodious voice because he was a person who was made with that gift of music too. So he used a melodious voice to speak to Eve so that he can deceive her. And we are told in chapter 3, he managed to deceive her and make this new creation on his side, and not just on his side. He became the leader of the new creation. So he came up with this music of spell casting, so that people he can have a large following. Can have a large following. When you go to Genesis 4, you find the first mention of music, and we have Jubal, who was the father of all that handled the harp and the organ. So that is the first mention of music. Chapter 3, Adam and Eve fall. Chapter 4, the mention of music is apparent, and we can see it there. And now from there, these instruments grow and evolve according to the times and the empires that were there. So there was a growth of the musical instruments. We have now brass instruments and percussive instruments, stringed instruments, wind instruments. So those were some of the instruments that now have come to be after that. The instruments have evolved from the ancient civilization. So the first civilization that we see as structured worship service with an economic and religious service is found after the flood in the Tower of Babel. Before that, we don't see much of structured organization. And in chapter 11, we know what happened. The tower, the people came together so that they can build a tower and a city that can reach unto the heaven. And God came down to confound their languages. Because of that, now each and every language that was there divided themselves and they scattered upon the face of the earth. So the Bantus went their way, and the Nilotes went their way, and the Cushites went their way. So they all came, all these languages came from this same place. So that means the same worship system that they had was taken from Babel to the different parts of the world. So each and every tradition under the sun today has a taste of the worship that was found in Babel. And most of their music do look very similar. If you try to trace them, the way the traditionalists do their worship services, they kind of look the same because we all came from the same place, the Tower of Babel. It's just that the languages were confounded and we had to separate one from another. So the sun worship system that was developed there is still live and kicking today in our current traditions in different parts of the world. Now, the Sumerians were the first civilization that we know of. They existed between 2000 BC to 1500 BC, and they then passed their religion to Semitic Babylonians, who took over their culture, lock, stock, and barrel. So the culture included cuneiform writing, sexagesimal system of mathematics based on 6 instead of 10, and a pantheon of deities, a considerable literature, a fund of musical instruments, important enough to be classed among the divine principles. So when you read the history of this civilization, one of the issues that is mentioned is their musical instruments. And it is the Babylonian development of the greatest system of a musical ritual in any ancient religion, which makes it imperative that we not neglect the possible associations between her mathematics, her music, and her religion. The myth of variance, the origin of gods, mathematics, and music from Merji Veda to Plato, 1984. So that is what we are told, that there are things that are associated with this civilization. One of the key issues, starting with the first civilization, the Sumerians, which were followed by the Babylonians, is their musical instruments. And the pagan heathen rituals were in control. Terrible condition existed as a result. The religion which affected the whole lifestyle was full of lust, licentiousness, and sexuality. There are pictures of ziggurats, or places of worship, and of the houses in Sumeria. A major part of the pagan rituals was fertility. So this is a story of music, Baal worship in the Christian church by Dr. McElroy Juanita. So at the center of their music is something very important: the goddesses, the women, and the drummers. So those things are very important, considering the religion of Sumeria, the religion of Babylon. They are very important. Now, this when drummers were women, when the drummers were women by Lane Redmond, goddesses were a prominent part of the religion. Some of the earliest representation of religious rituals show female performance ensembles of musicians singers and dancers. The frame drum or the hand drum was at the center of these rituals, and the goddesses, priestesses, and musicians play the hand drum, all women. So there is women leading in worship, and then we have drums, and we have goddesses, and we have dances. Now, that one was not seen anywhere in the scripture and in the Hebrew mindset and the oracles that the Hebrew people were given. And it was only found in the pagan religion. So they used the drum to summon the goddess, and the goddess spoke through the drum. So the drum was a primary trance-inducing instrument. Now, when we are looking at TV transformation, we realized a trance means to be hypnotized, to be put in a state where you're susceptible to suggestions and indoctrination. So the drum primarily was used to beat out a beat, a regular pulsation that was to put somebody in an hypnotic state for them to be susceptible to receive any information, any suggestion, and especially possession. Now listen to this description.
Started studying with Glenn. He had collected about 200 slides of the ancient frame drummers from the Mediterranean world. This is the world's oldest known drum, and a frame drum is a drum that is much wider than the depth of its shell. And all over the world we find frame drums. It's like an archetypal idea. People everywhere come up with the idea to make a drum like this. What I noticed in his slide collection was that almost all of the drummers were women. And this is from about 5600 BC in what is now Turkey to about 400 Common Era. And I thought, well, what was going on that all the drummers were women in the ancient world? So I started to research these images that he had collected and tried to figure out who these women were. And it turns out a lot of them were goddesses or priestesses of these goddesses. And I didn't know anything about them. I knew a little bit about Aphrodite because we use her to sell lingerie and chocolates, but I had never heard of Isis or Hathor or Sekhmet or Inanna or Anat or Ashtoreth or Cybele, Demeter or Persephone. And I had to start studying the information about these different goddesses to figure out why they were holding frame drums. So I started to paint the symbols I found on the drum heads. Many of them had lotuses or a dot in the center that I know as the Bindu from the yoga tradition, which is the compacted, unmanifested energy of the universe before the first sound. A lot of the drums were painted red, the color of blood. I started to realize that the drum represented the first sound. The first sound that we hear in the womb is the sound of our mother's blood pulsing through her arteries. So that's why the drums were painted red, or that they had this bindu, that compacted symbol of everything before it comes into existence. The drum was actually their symbol of being the creatress of the universe. One stroke on the drum and everything comes into existence.
Well, that's quite astounding. The drum was used to create the world. One strike of the drum and things came into existence. So that is how drums were portrayed. They were quite a powerful tool for trance-inducing and for communicating with the gods. And from there, we have now a development not just of the other instruments, but the drums. So the drums also have developed, and we have a set of drums, and there are different names. We have acoustic drums, fusion, power rock, congas, bongas, bongos, So there are different sets and types of these drums, whether they are pandeiro or tambourines or goblet drums. So there is a long list of sets of drums and types of drums that are used, whether they are snare drums or the ones bass drums used for marching and all that. Generally, the percussive instruments were used mostly, but the drum was kind of the main instrument used in this civilization. Now, the Sumerian worship, beside the drum, of course, we know they used to worship the sun. Joshua, as he was speaking to the people, spoke about Terah, who was the father of Abraham and the father of Nahor, and they served other gods. So the father of Abraham, Terah, and his brother Nahor, they wherever where they were living, they were serving these gods, which were Baal, the sun god, the moon god, the planets, the host of heaven, and this is from whence uh, the the Lord called Abraham. Remember when when the Lord told Abraham, "Get thee out of thy country, out from thy kindred and from thy father's house." So the father was mentioned. So God had told Abraham to move out of that place because of the worship system and the whole issue of worshiping the solar system. So he was to get out unto the land that he was to be shown. And we are told in Hebrews 11, by faith Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should receive after receiving for inheritance, obeyed, and he went out, not knowing whither he went. So Abraham obeyed when he was told, "This is not a place suitable for you to stay," considering what was happening at that time, or the whole worship system. He was told to move out to a place where he could get time and space to worship God. So all religion of these ancient civilizations still exist to the present time. And in Haiti, it is called voodoo. In Brazil, condobol. In Cuba, Santeria. In Trinidad, Orisha worship, or Shango. In Jamaica, Communion. The pagan worship is alive and flourishing. And the primary way they call God is with the drum. Now, each god has a specific beat, and they call whatever god they wish to come. So there is a specific rhythm for each god. And depending on how the beat is played out, the god manifests itself in possession of those who are present in the whatever ceremony that they are doing. So the main beats are the same beats which are found in rock music. That is The Story of Music by Dr. Juanita McElroy. So this ancient religion still exists today. Like here, I think this is a festival that was held in 2020. It says the Voodoo Festival on January, that is 2020. So they are still there. But the music that was there and the worship system is uh, is integrated to the music that is today through the rock music. We'll be looking at that. So in Abomey, Africa, these deities speak through humans. That speak through humans are called Vudan, which means mystery. From their word Vudan comes our voodoo, and it is voodoo that we must look for the roots of our music. So the roots of the music that exists today, most of it is from this music system. And a unique characteristic of African music is its rhythm, which to the Africans is the spice of life. This is the Christian rock music by Samuele Baciochi, page 68. So the roots of rock music lie deep in the soil of voodoo. So there was kind of an evolution, an integration of the ancient music worship system into the present day music genres that we have. And we are told, although West Africa coast even well in the 19th century, an old culture thrived, loosely labeled as Yoruba. Like ancient India, China, Egypt, and Ireland, it embraced pagan mother goddess religion. So you can see there is a likeness in different parts of the world of the same religion, the mother-child worship. To meditate was to dance. Hence, in this culture, the drum is the sacred as an instrument that some are built for display. They are too holy to touch, an instrument of significance, silent, not reverberation. And we are told that West Africa views the spirit world as an existing alongside the human world, and that they periodically intersect. So from the worldview of West Africa is that there is a cross section between the spiritual world, the spirits, and the physical world. And their sign for this is the cross. So they have taken the cross to mean the cross section, intersection between the spiritual world and the physical world, though it has nothing to do with the Christian cross. So you can see some of the videos that when they are doing these rituals, they do the sign of the cross. Now we'll be looking at these signs when we'll be looking at the rise of Satanism. So these signs are used to mark the cross in the traditionals, especially the West African worldview, used to show the intersection between the physical and the spiritual world. And what happens is that to become possessed by the spirit of Yoruba or deity, which is formal goal of the religion, they do that ceremony, and they have a drum beat according to the specific god that they are intending to summon. Now, this is a video of what does happen. So it is a big ceremony that they hold. Now, that ceremony exists in a lot of the countries. I saw one in Burundi, another one in Tanzania. So the ceremonies do exist in a lot of countries. And as a result of these rhythms and beats, possession becomes apparent. The other main stream technique in which the devil uses music is to bring about spirit possession, is that of the altered state of consciousness. Now, music is often used beneficially to control the heart rate and other rhythms in the body. Since this is true, it is also possible to use the rhythm of sound to control the rhythm of brainwaves. Now, we spoke about brainwaves when we were speaking about TV transformation. Neurochemical cortical brain activity may be measured. This is Juanita, demon possession and music. So it is to control the brain waves by the rhythms that you beat, because the body is rhythmic. The heart rate is rhythmic. There are a lot of rhythms that go on in the body, and you can use music to actually change and alter the rhythms that are in the body. So the whole language of possession is a different expression stands for each god. So each god comes out according to how the drum is beat. In Haitian voodoo, as in Africa, the drum is holy. The drummer is seen merely as a servant of the drum. He has no influence within the hierarchy of the religion, but through his drum, he has great influence on the ceremony. So what happened is that we have each loa prefers a fundamental different rhythm. Loa is a spirit. Each spirit prefers different, they have their own identifying rhythms. So according to how the drummer plays, then the rhythms invoke those demons to possess the people that are taking part in those ceremonies.
Each preacher recognizes different beings in his possession. Its syncretic translation would be the Virgin of High Grace, the Black Virgin or the Virgin of Monte Carmelo, and sometimes Saint Philomena, identified in voodoo with the siren who comes out of the sea or out of fresh water. Other participants also go into deep trances. People help them and respect them, as in these movements their souls are outside their bodies. The luas or spirits have taken over their bodies in order to express their wishes.
So there are ceremonies that are still being held. As you can see, that woman actually started by doing the sign of the cross. So that is what happened. Now, there's a writer called Lemon Jefferson, who was a blues singer. He wrote a song, I Got a Great Long Snake Crawling Around My Room. So snakes are part and parcel of this religion. Anytime we have drum beating, it seems like they also involve the snakes in the whole ritual. You can see that one was from Tanzania. Now this is, I think, the biggest snake in Africa is the African rock python. And you can see there were two of them there. So the music now that exist in this present day, they have the same kind of elements. We'll be looking at that elements. Beside that, they are the music we are told are soaked in sex and dance and trance, becoming the father of early rock and roll. This was spoken of Elvis Presley, who was kind of seen as the one who brought on the revolution of the 1950s and the 1960s. So the music today, beside the possession and the elements of drums, they are filled with sex and alcohol and drugs. Look at the music that exists today. One singer from Tanzania, I think this song called Rubini Kali, he says whatever is happening today is that people are actually praising sex and drugs, sex and alcohol, and lovesick sentimentalism. So that is the main message. Just look at all the music and what the component is, the secular music. Those are the main components that are found in music today. Now, Scaratino said that heavy percussion instruments such as bass drum influences our emotion by arousing our bass passions. And the sound vibration of electric bass guitar, for those who use it, especially mostly for rock, with its very low frequency levels, powerfully amplify, acts as a sexual stimulant because it resonates right at the crucial point between the thighs. Now, the drums and the bass guitar combined offer a musical aphrodisiac that has popularized popular music more than any other element. So the popular music called pop music is popularized because of how it affects, it leads to the release of cortisols into the bloodstream of the body. Those are the hormones. Now, when you follow the family tree of music, we have tried to bring all that together, we realize that there is a connection. There is quite a connection between these music. We'll look at that in a bit. One, we remember all this music comes from the Sumerian civilization, and then bequeathed it to the Babylonians, and from there, Babel, where the languages were confounded, people took the same religion to the different parts of the world. They just modified according to their geographical location and to their folklore, so that they may look different from the other groups found around them. But it's the same music with the same elements, just a little modification here and there. So that is how it grew. From there, we have now a long list, and you can follow all the music back to the same beginning. And Joachim E. Brandt said, taking an active interest in jazz means working for the majority, because the popular music of our time feeds on jazz. So the popular music of the times we are living in feeds, it all comes from jazz. All the music we hear in TV series, in top 40 radio, in the hotel lobbies, and on elevators, in commercial and in movies, they all come from jazz. This is the jazz book. Now, this is kind of a family tree of how this music came into being. Soul, blues, jazz at the center. Then you can start climbing up the branches. You have rap, you have gospel, you have reggae up here. You can come down and we have rap here. So you can go through all this reggaeton, gengeton. The other side, we have rock and roll, funk, hip hop here. You go down to folk music and yodeling and country music. So all the music kind of stems from the same, whether it is rap or hip hop or rock and roll and country and R&B and gospel and reggae. They kind of stem from the same root, the same place of jazz, blues, and rock and roll. Now, when you decide to have a little study on music, you realize that there is a long list of genres of music that exist today. There's a very quite a long list, whether they are classical, even classical music has varieties within it. We have children music, contemporary country music, dance, R&B, reggae, and each of these has sub-genres. So there's a long list, a long list. Even in our country, we also have that same family tree from the genres that do exist, just a modification here and there according to our geographical location and our traditions. So we just mixed a little bit of what we borrowed from our tribals to what we borrow from rock, and we come up with what is called the local pop. Now, pop is a short form of the word popular. So when you hear pop music, it simply means popular music. Now, popular music is gengeton and bongo flavor and all the music that we know, that is pop. It's called the local pop. So all of them come from the same place. Now, we have characteristics of secular music and bad music for that matter. Now, in good music, the correct order is good melody supported by a balanced harmony and undergirded with a firm and consistent rhythm. But if you desire to communicate a text with music, the order is clear: melody, harmony, then rhythm. So that is how music is created. Now, the wrong kind of music has a reversal of those elements of music, and then they add a prominent element called the beat. So you can see this is a reversal, because good music, you start from melody, you go to harmony, and then rhythm. Now, the rock kind of music, you have a reversal from rhythm, harmony down to melody, and then you, on top of it, you add the beat. Now, there are some music which are not really music because they don't have melody. A good example is hip hop. Hip hop is not really music, it is rhythmic speech because it does not have melody. So you cannot really say it is music. You can't have music without melody. So that is now the arrangement that is found in the wrong kind of music. And in rock music, drums are also a key instrument for they create a static punctuation through the incessant pounding that is so characteristic of this type of music. So that incessant pounding that we hear is a character or characteristic of rock music and pop music in general. So this is the arrangement of the right kind of music. Melody, harmony, rhythm comes automatically. And then the wrong kind of music, we have rhythm, which is the last thing here being the first, and then harmony and melody. And on top of it, we have now the beat that is characteristic of most of this music. So in the book Music in Balance, melody responds to the spirit, harmony responds to the mind, and rhythm responds to the body. So melody appeals to the spirit. You feel you are uplifted. Harmony appeals to the mind. You have to think. Now accentuated rhythm and beat appeals to the flesh. That is now you start seeing motion, especially when the beat is present. You start seeing the motion of the body. So there's a long history of music, and you can try to look at some of these pictures that show you the connection between amongst this list of music genres. So the rock music does not seek to balance the melody, harmony, and rhythm. The music is dominated by relentless rhythmic beats and generally loudness, which are designed to penetrate the bodies of the listeners with emotional stimulation while disconnecting, at least in the part, their master brain. So it disconnects the frontal lobe where you can't think, and then it goes directly to your body, to the body of the listeners. And the general loudness is always there. Unfortunately, that is a characteristic of most of the music we see is sung by choirs in churches. Now, techno music shares the same common characteristic of rock music and sets new record in noise, tempo, and ecstatic effects. So the basic music elements of rock, including Christian rock, are volume, repetition, and beat. Unfortunately, that looks like what most of us sing, especially these choir groups. The louder you sing, people think that is music. Noise is not music. Unfortunately, the wider you open your mouth, the louder you sing, people think now you have sung. And then there's a lot of repetition, especially when the last bits of repeating the chorus whatever number of times. And then now we have the beat that hits through the flesh. So that the motto is turn on, dive in, and drop out is the motto of this kind of music. So techno music is jazz, blues, rock, pop, hip hop, reggae, all that, all kinds of music. Country music is techno music. And since pop is a music of immediate gratification, it must have some way to accomplish immediacy. Now, pop music, we have said, means popular music. Now, a primary one is to make the music overly repetitious. So anytime you see music that is over repeated, they repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat, it is pop music and is over unified. Certain elements are repeated again and again for the sake of easy assimilation. Hardly any pop music exists without a steady hammering percussion or percussive devices in an incessant cacophony of noise. Unfortunately, that is quite an exact description of most of the music that is made in church today. A unique characteristic of African music is its rhythm, which to the Africans is the spice of life. Unfortunately, that is, we are Africans and we need to feel that rhythm. We need to have music that speaks to the flesh. When you hear it, you start moving. So he, the African, is intoxicated by the rhythm, the rhythmic harmony, or the rhythmic polyphony. It is this remarkable interplay of main beats that causes him to irresistibly, when he hears the drums, to start moving his feet, his arms, his whole body. To him, this is real music. That is why you see it in church. A music that speaks to the flesh. When you just hear it, you start bouncing, you start moving your feet, your hands, and your body. That is African music, not Christian music, because of the characteristic beat which is defining the rock music. And we shall see that this unique rhythm which impacts directly on the body distinguishes rock music from other forms of music. So when it starts to play, you see people react. Their hands go up and they start moving immediately because it gets directly to the flesh. Unfortunately, that is true in church. A kind of music that when people hear it, they want to move. They can't sit still. It cannot allow you to sit still. Do you still feel like sitting down? There is no way to insulate the bodily response from the pulsating, pounding power of rock music because it impacts directly on the body by passing the mind. So it gets, you don't think, you start moving. It gets directly into the flesh. That is how the music works. Now, a charismatic worship style turns off the prefrontal cortex function of the worshiper. People cannot think anymore. And Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan, in his book, The Satanic Bible, says many churches with some of the largest congregation have the most hand-clapping sensual music, also satanically inspired. After all, the devil has always the best tunes. So that is what the founder of the Satanic Church says in his Satanic Bible. The Satanic Bible is quite a read. Well, I don't encourage someone to read it, but it's quite an interesting book. Now, the driving beats consistent syncopation, funk-like harmonies, backbeats, and clipped and lyrical melodic lines combine in strident cacophony. And for the Christian, two things are worth noting. First, rock music generally allowed that rock is for dance. And this type of repetitive bounding immobilizes true rhythm. The rock beat paralyzes and incapacitates the listener into a trance-like state of reflexibility. So this kind of music that speaks to the flesh, it does immobilize the mind, the frontal lobe, which is supposed to be used for thinking. That is the Christian and rock music by Samuele Bacchiocchi. So we have someone here called Eugene Durant, who wrote about contemporary music in Adventist Review, December 1990, December 6th. Says, when I was growing up, Adventists were taught that popular music was unfit for Christian ears, not only because of the lovesick sentimental words, but because of the sensual music. Imagine our discomfort, where our discomfort then when Adventists moved from rejecting the dance music to performing it with sacred words in in church on Sabbath. That which we conscientiously abstain from during the week, we are now forced to listen to during sacred services on God's holy day. Unfortunately, that is what happens. We try to avoid secular music at all throughout the week. Then we come to church, whatever we were avoiding during the week, now we get it in church. The noise and the repetition in the name of praising God. Solomon says in Ecclesiastes 7 verses 5, it is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools. So there are a lot of music in our churches that can be called a song of fools. Actually, Ellen White called them rubbish. Now, we will not get into that. As we said that the presentation is just a small section of what music can be studied. Messages to young people, 296. Young persons assembled to sing, although professed Christians frequently dishonor God and their faith by their frivolous conversation and the choice of music. Sacred music is not congenial to their taste. Unfortunately, when it comes to the songs of Zion, songs that are found in our hymn books, the people don't like them, especially those people who sing. When they go up to sing in their choirs in the pulpit, they make a lot of noise with the so-called music they make and compose. But when it comes to singing the songs that are in the book, they either don't know or they refuse to sing or they are bored. You wonder these people who are making noise in the pulpit are not now singing when it comes to congregational music. It is because sacred music is not congenial to their taste, and Satan has no objection to music. If he can make that a channel through which he can gain access to the minds of the youth, anything will suit his purposes that will divert the mind from God and engage the time which should be devoted to his service. When turned to good account, music is a blessing, but unfortunately, most of the time, it is Satan's most attractive agencies to ensnare the souls. Now, listen to this quote, a very important one. Christians are gathered there. I think is a long story, but I will read from here. This I saw repeated a number of times all through the ranks of Sabbath keepers. Music has occupied the hours which should have been devoted to prayer. Music has occupied the hours which should have been devoted to prayer. Music is the idol which many professed Sabbath keepers, keeping Christians worship. So music is the special idol for the Seventh-day Adventists. That is Messages to Young People 295. If you want to clash with Adventists, just touch their music, unfortunately. So that is the special idol for the Seventh-day Adventists. Now, the Holy Spirit never reveals himself in such methods. You can read second selected messages, page 36. In such bedlam of noise, this is the invasion of Satan to cover up his ingenious methods of making an effect, the pure, sincere, elevating, ennobling, sanctifying truth for this time. The truth for this time needs nothing of this kind. It needs working of converting souls. A bedlam of noise shocks the senses and perverts that which, if conducted aright, might be a blessing. The power of satanic agencies blend with the din and the noise to have a carnival that is termed the Holy Spirit's working. This is what we see in most of these music convention and concerts and whatever. Now, the pulsating beat and fast rhythm will unmistakably identify the rock music, which is, a hybrid of jazz, Negro, spiritual, country, Western blues. It is hard to assign any one sound as typical to the rock music. So it has become a musical melting pot for many styles, all centered in the relentless beat. So there are other elements for world music. We will not get into what they mean. For now, I think we will pass that so that we go through and pass these Kanye West issues. Now, in secular music, what usually happens, there is a good number of people that are involved in secret societies and they do sign contracts. And because of that, they are given songs. Actually, some of these people, somebody writes a song for them and they are told exactly how to perform and what to wear and how to perform. So this is, I like this newsletter. It always looks at what happens in the occult world. So there's a music video of a French singer that explained how the occult world comes, kind of a story. And most of this music actually are stories, but we don't sit down to think because everything that is put on music has a meaning. You can't just decide you're going to sing your song in the symmetry without it having meaning. So any background pictures and ambience has a meaning. Now I came across this one. I think it's a song by Harmonize. I'm not sure what it speaks about, but as I went through the video, it was quite apparent something was being, a story was being told. Now here you can see him dressed all black, and then we have things like mummies. The background is white with mummies. Then here he is dressed in white, and we have women dressed in black, and they are looking the opposite direction to him. Then here we have kind of men. You can see they're wearing vests, and they are wrapped as if they are dead, and they are moving from left to right. And then finally here we have a picture of him becoming the king, if the success again. So that means there's a storyline to this. There's something that happens throughout this for him to finally come to be recognized in the music industry and become a king as he places himself. And one of the pictures inside that is this. So he's singing, there are chains all over him, and there are dead bodies. It looks like dead bodies. So all these things have a meaning. You don't just decide you're going to sing in a mob without having a meaning. There's a story that is being told through these musics. And we have to be careful, especially with secular music. I think it should not be an issue of whether we should listen or not, because the secular music is generally the devil's way of preaching to people and psyching up his people, giving them morale as the battle. Remember, we said every battle has war songs, battle songs, and now we have the battle between good and evil. The evil part have their songs, and the good part have their songs. Now, this is a song by, I think, Calgraph, and you can see they are singing in the dark. They are inside a cage. There are smokes everywhere, one of the satanic signs, and then they are eating raw flesh and drinking blood, these two. And you can see the satanic signs of 666. So this is a worship system. Any person who sits and watches takes part in whatever the song is speaking about. So let us not be ignorant of this. So you can see the same thing with the Neo Mitego, the blood sacrifices, the same with the diamond and the satanic signs of Topizo. So all these blood are sacrifices. And anytime you sit and watch, you are taking part in the sacrifices that are being shown there. And we are told here by these musicians, listen carefully what they say about the devil and rock and roll.
The song is about saving souls from demons or something, as I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Now, what was?
Well, you know, there's a rich history of the devil in rock and roll. It goes all the way back to like Elvis was everyone said he's playing the devil's music. What was that great song? The devil went down to Joe.
Oh, Charlie Daniels.
Charlie Daniels. He had some devil in there, and it goes even back to before that. Who's Robert Johnson?
Right.
You can find his roots, you know, way back to the beginning of rock, and so. You know, had we sold our soul to the devil? How else can you explain us being here on the How did these two guys get on it?
Yeah, so there's a group of singers, couple, that say they sold their souls to the devil. And there is a rich history between the devil and rock and roll. So the devil, the musician, has his music and is passing it through the world through different kind of uh, through different kinds of genres of the music. And what happens is that when they do the music, they dedicate it to the demon, so that when you listen, you become possessed. The same thing that happens with the music in church. When a choir is recording, they pray over it when they are launching it, so that whoever listens to the music uh, is influenced by the spirit and convicted of the truth. So they do the same. They offer, they pray over it to their gods, of course. And this lady here speaks something interesting that results from that.
I've been having these weird feelings lately, and that's kind of why I didn't want to do this song, Shake It, or like any drill songs, because it's like these songs are activating like these demons that I killed. Like these demons that I killed. I don't want to be that girl anymore. Like I just want to be a mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be that old Cardi anymore. I left that lifestyle a long time ago. I don't want to be that anymore. Like, and she's coming back. She's coming back, bro. Like, I feel like getting a cane. If you know about the canes, then you know. I don't want to be that anymore. I want to be a mother. This song is activating demons that I locked away a long time ago. And it's coming back again. And I don't want to be that. I want to be a good person. I don't want to.
Now, this is Cardi B, quite a prominent singer in the world. She literally crying, saying the song she sang is activating demons. I don't, I don't know what to add on that. So all this music, we saw that the primary reason for drum is to empty the mind, trance-like state for people to be possessed, and these singers are literally saying what we have already looked at. And the other issue, I think, kind of the last one, is the mismatch between the message and the medium. The message and the medium have to be in match, lest you lose the message, because you cannot have a Babylonian beat and try to add a Christian words or sacred words. It can never work. So the adoption of modified versions of rock music for the church world is symptomatic of a larger problem, namely the loss of the sense of sacred of the sacred in our society. The process of secularization, which has reached a renewed height in our time, has gradually blurred the distinction between sacred and secular, right or wrong, good and bad. And that is a problem that is happening in the world. So people are trying to merge the two worldviews together, and this brings a problem. The words of music of a song need to match. The words and music of a song needs to match. If you use country music, the message which is conveyed will be that of the music, not of the words. You know, different kinds of music are associated with different things. Reggae is associated with smoking weed. So there's no way you can take a reggae beat and try and put Christian words to sing a Christian song. Hip hop is associated with a lot of insult and vulgar language. So you can't take hip hop and then put the hip hop beat and put Christian words. It cannot work. The same thing with the country, the same thing with the bongo flavor, the same thing with tarab. All this world music, there's no way they always associated with something. So just putting religious words to country music does not change its character, because the art of communication is quite a complicated one. Words only occupy 77% of communication. The words that you want to put occupy 7%. The rest of the percentages is for body movement and the gesticulations, and 38% is voice tone, the way it is sung, the voice tone, the modulation, the process. The words only occupy 7%. So you can see these other parts take quite a big portion when it comes to communication. So you can't take secular music and put Christian words to it. It cannot work. You're bringing a problem. I don't think we'll get into some of these. Some of them are quite an illustration of what we saw. So worldly music is not safe. I don't think we are discussing whether we should listen to or not to worldly music. Unfortunately, that should not be a topic. So it is not safe for the Lord's workers to take part in worldly entertainment. Association with worldliness in musical line is looked upon as harmless by Sabbath keeper, but such ones are on dangerous ground. That is Selected Messages, Volume 3, page 332. Now, Abraham was called out of Babylon, and there are reasons why he was called out of the Sumerian Babylonian religion. And we are living at a time when there is an amalgamation of musical coming together, so that the last play of the events of battle come into show. Now we are told that what will happen, just like in Babylon, chapter 3 of Daniel speaks about a worship where an image is worshipped and every kind of music is brought together to make that worship possible. We are living at a time when the same thing is going to happen. We have another image, it is called the image of the beast. And one of the issues will be music that will be used to unify people to have that worship of the beast and the image, as it is written in the book of Daniel, Daniel 3. So God called Abraham out of it, and he is calling us out of the same. So let us watch this video, and then we close.
Scientists, scholars, and musicians agree that musical style has perhaps the biggest influence on mind and character of all the forms of modern media. While music is an agency of God designed to promote thought, after all, the root word of music is muse, meaning to think deeply. The popular music styles of today hypnotically shut down rational thought and turn music into just another amusement. Amuse means not think. But even more seriously, scholars point to music as the most potent control mechanism available in human society. Says one anthropologist regarding music, there is probably no other human cultural activity which is so all-pervasive and which reaches into, shapes, and often controls so much of human behavior. Popular music has already proved to be the greatest force for social cohesion in modern times, and it will no doubt play a decisive role in sweeping the masses into the false worship system of last days Babylon, just as it was music that also moved the crowd into the false worship system in ancient Babylon.
So that is what is going to happen, and God calls us out of Babylon. When you get out of Babylon, you leave their music there, and their foods there, and their clothing there. You leave, you flee, and you don't touch any unclean thing. That is what God is calling us, because this music are going to drum out demons. And if the people who have signed contract with these demons are being affected, what about you and me? They are literally crying. This will be a problem, a big one for us. So it will be good for us to understand what is happening, especially in the music world. So let us say last benediction. Father Lord, we thank you once again that you've led us through the study. The blessings have been upon us. We still have much to learn, especially when it comes to music. We pray that you may speak unto us and convict us by your Spirit to learn more and hear from thee, and let your word work in us to will and to do according to your good pleasure. Be with us even through this night until we meet tomorrow for another session. Let your spirit hover among us is our prayer even now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Fill my cup.